Welcome to The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 205, Spirituality and Relationship. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to The Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host, and I'm here today in 818 Studios with my producer.
Good morning, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 205 of The Authentic Spiritual Journey. 205. We're now comfortably into the 200s. Episode 200, that whole event, that was a whole month ago. And so, yeah, we're just old.
I know, that seems like years ago.
It does, doesn't it? But we're glad to have you with us today.
Yeah, glad to have you. And you're right, as Dave was saying, sorry, Dave, I didn't mean to step on you there, that, everybody I talk to feels very, very busy right now. I don't know if it's because, for so long, none of us were doing anything or going anywhere.
Well, it even happens in the middle of a day. Like me and a buddy of mine went on a bike ride yesterday. And then so in the morning, and then he came over and we grilled up burgers and played some games. And so when he was leaving, it was 4 p.m, right? But I thought to myself, we just this morning did this bike ride. And I think you're right. There's this weird time compression, dilation thing going on where the weeks go by really fast, but a single day seems to stretch on. Do you think it's the lockdown and the COVID?
Totally. Well, the other thing, do you remember when we had him at CCU? I'd love to have him on the show again. He's an Olympic athlete named John Coyle, and he wrote a whole book about time. And he would say how, when he went on vacation, time was so different than when he was sitting crunching numbers all day. It was like a completely different reality. It's something really weird about how we experience time. Of course, I don't think time is linear. I'm one of those people. I mean, we go by a clock, but we've all had things where time seemed to collapse on itself. Time seemed to expand. So I think it's something in the spiritual realms.
Yeah, and if you want time to stretch on forever, just try to do some planking.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, that will.
Oh, no, have you put that into your exercise regimen?
I have not, no, but I have planked before. And if you want to see how long 30 seconds can really feel, try to hold a plank pose or any really intense yoga pose.
I'm telling you, yes. I got to where I was planking a lot, and I'll tell you, it takes you to your knees. It's core strength, right? I'm working on that a lot right now, too. Well, friends, we're glad you're along the journey with us. You probably don't want to hear my workout stories. No. But, I'm pretty excited, too, about a class coming up. Well, it's not a class. I keep calling it a class. It's a one-day retreat, and I haven't said a lot about it. I've already had people register, and it just went up a couple days ago on my website, but it's going to be a really deep spiritual experience, and it's in person only. Certain things really have to be in person, and the deeper spiritual work, really, you've got to be there. And it's called Experience the Power of Your Energy. And it sounds, it's real deep in that we're going to be doing, 2 30-minute meditations throughout the day. We're going to be going very deeply within our own energy fields, learning how to protect our energy, and also cutting cords and releasing other people's attachment to us, as well as me. I'm going to do some energy release sessions with individuals up front, because there's ways I can help and support people that people are not even aware of that it exists. And it's really the deepest work. And if you've been on this journey long, friends, you know that there's more to the spiritual journey than just thinking about it. It's more than reading books. It's even more than therapeutic work. This work we're going to do combines spiritual, therapeutic, and it takes you to the innermost core of your being. So it's very, very transformative. And I'm offering it really at the request of somebody who said, I really like this. My greatest memories of working with you it has been this work. And I said, you know what? It's time to do another one. And I know it is because, like I say, it just went up on the site and several people have already registered. I think I've already got 10 people coming. Wow. And it's Saturday, July 11th, and it's all day, and it is at Unity of North Tampa in the sanctuary. So it'll be a beautiful sharing. We're going to provide lunch for you. We're going to even do an angel walk around that beautiful campus. I mean, it is going to be a gorgeous, and deep spiritual experience.
Yeah, the North Tampa campus is it feels like a retreat center. Like it's because it's kind of back off, the road there, and you pull up, and it's just the sanctuary. The audience faces kind of the windows, and so it feels really open and inviting. Yeah. So it's a gorgeous space.
Well, and recently it made my day. I had 5 people show up from Orlando. that made my whole day. Actually, my year, because 2 friends who just had a baby were there, and it just meant the world to me. One was an employee who I worked with at CCU years ago. So yes, what a great time. But yeah, if you haven't been over to Unity North Tampa, I invite you over or to watch online. It's really fun. We also made the talks available here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. And I'm encouraging my members to listen that way as well. So whatever works for you. And it's interesting. I'm talking all about the church, and the workshop with our title for the day. Dave, will you give us that?
Yeah, the title is Spirituality and Relationship. Yeah. Spirituality and Relationship.
Right. Now, it's interesting because in June, I'm going to be doing at Unity North Tampa a 3-week series called Creating Healthy Relationship. And so my mind has really been around that in my heart because, I work with people all over the country, really. I almost said all over the world. And that has begun with a few folks in Canada and then connections in several countries in Africa. But, and then of course our podcast is worldwide. So I guess I can say all over the world.
Think so, yeah.
But anyway, in all of the cases of the people I work with, it doesn't matter walks of life, what they do for a living. It's all about the relationships, and so it doesn't matter if it's friendships, romantic relationships, but in general, when I speak of relationship, I'm not only meaning romantic, right? In our culture today, you say the word relationship and we all get crazy all of a sudden, right? It's all about what they did or what they said or what they didn't do and all of that. But so I want to talk broadly about relationship and how your spirituality plays a part. And also, again, invite you into the messages at Unity North Tampa to just be a part of what we're doing there, because we're going to seek to know that each of us is not an island, that we are interconnected and that there is an innate connection that we all have. But when we are operating from the personality, from the ego self, it really gets in the way of healthy relationship. And I do want to get right into that and also talk about also what happens when we are attracted and we seek to be in romantic relationship and what happens if there's no spirituality in that other person. So that is a rough one. If we were in church, I'd say, can I have an amen?
And I'd say amen.
Yeah. In the church I grew up in, that was called missionary dating. Yeah, have you ever heard that, Dave?
No,
It was if I'm a believer and they aren't.
Right, and then they're your project, and yeah.
Then they're your project. Don't date somebody who's not a believer. Well, I'm slightly different about that, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, obviously, teaching in Memphis, one of the things that I dealt with a lot during my mentorship or discipleship is what we called it, of the guys out there, was relationship. Was always such a big topic, and spirituality was always tied up into it.
Absolutely.
And so it was a real challenge for them because they're dealing with feelings and, and
hormones.
relationships and hormones, and they're all like college and
college boys
straight out of high school and not knowing what to do and trying to walk the straight and narrow, but also deal with, some kind of, let's see how to put it, evangelical kind of,
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting you're saying that. We just finished this series at Unity North Tampa last week on sex and religion. So, yes, in many denominations, the idea of enjoying one's own body is seen as evil.
Yeah.
And what we know and what we've seen over time, when there's not a knowing or an exploration of one's own body, what happens is often uncontrollable situations. And
it usually kind of, not usually, but it can often backfire horribly.
Oh, yeah. It leads to teenage pregnancies, sexual violence.
I mean, some of the most promiscuous are like preachers' kids,
Oh, totally.
And if we would just have just an open, honest kind of discussion about it, and quit like vilifying. And I'm not talking about just like sexual relationships, but just like, just relationships in general, kissing, holding hands, physical affection, or just, emotional affection. But the clamps come down so hard that it all just kind of goes underground. And so that's where you see things. We saw things in Memphis at the college I was at. You see it like at Liberty University.
Totally.
Any of these really super fundamental kind of religious colleges. You kind of peel back the layers, and there's a pretty active underground going on. That as an instructor, I never really knew about it, but I learned about it after I left, and the students were like, "Oh yeah, all this was totally shaken down."
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, when you see these TV preachers on the news, it's never people who have a, kind of balanced view of sexuality. It's all this kind of leftover Puritan idea. Yeah. And, they're sleeping with prostitutes, male and female. I mean, they've been having affairs behind their wives for years.
Yeah.
I mean, you do see that, and it's not a very realistic view of, human sexuality. We see it in the Catholic Church. Abstinence is clearly it doesn't work. is what I'm saying. When there's systemic sexual abuse, okay, I didn't know we were going there today, but friends, when there's systemic sexual abuse, there's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just,
and
wow. I don't know how people just constantly overlook it. It's like, wow.
And everybody's okay with this.
Right.
Interesting is I've just recently, one of my students from Memphis has moved to Orlando. He's actually a flight attendant. So he goes between Orlando and Denver. Mm-hmm. And so we've started having coffee times, just like we did 10 years ago in Memphis.
Awesome.
But we are both fundamentally different people. And it's just been really interesting kind of, unpacking some of those things, some of the things that I was like, okay, this is where my head was at and this is where his head was at. And realizing that there is a spiritual maturity that I wish I could go back and tell like 2010 Dave, okay, Dave, get off your fundamental high horse or whatever. But and some of that was just getting out of that bubble, getting out of that kind of religious bubble and exposing myself to kind of a higher consciousness, a greater spirituality that I hadn't been exposed to before.
Right. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. It's like, I hear people say spiritual things and then they treat other people in a way that is completely non-consistent with any tenet of any religion. it's like I want to lift it up for all of us because, as people of faith, it doesn't matter what our faith is. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a Muslim, if you're a Christian, if you are Jewish, if you are study Native American spirituality or a practicer of that. It doesn't matter if you're Taoist, Buddhist. At the center of every belief is loving God and loving your neighbor. It's pretty simple. And so when we, mature spiritually, it does impact our relationships because we realize we can't just say and do whatever comes to mind.
Right.
We have to take responsibility for our, for our spiritual growth. We have to take responsibility for how we think and feel, right? And Donna Bevan Lee, who does another show on our channel, says, you're not responsible for what you think and feel, but for what you do and say, And so there is you have to be aware, though, of what you think and feel and how that's going to impact what you do and say, So as the relationships, as we deepen in our spirituality, the relationships around us begin to reflect this higher spiritual or awareness, or they should, or the spiritual work isn't real. You need to do more work. And I think this is an important point to just pause and let you take in for a moment. It's like time to grow up spiritually and be responsible for what we do and say, to go back and make amends if amends need to be made, and to realize we're not an island. We are interconnected. We are divinely appointed to the relationships in which we find ourselves. So what does this mean? Well, I am a firm believer that all of the relationships we have are to help us grow. And that means that inherent in all of our most important relationships, there will be tension. Tension is not necessarily bad. And when we grow up in homes where any question or any tension was either vilified or beat out of us, it becomes hard to hold tension as an adult and not, be triggered to hell and back. But right. I mean, I just to say it like it is.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. And so, but healthy relationships, spiritually based relationships, are going to have some tension. And so as we grow spiritually, as we do the deeper emotional work, we can hold that tension and not vilify the other. We can hold that tension and not talk about people behind their backs. We can hold that tension and learn what is coming up for me in this, what is trying to heal in me in this. So there is an inherent spirituality. There's an inherent spiritual lesson in every relationship you have, whether romantic or friend. So the spiritual work then is to be reflective of that. Find out where you are in this tension. I was doing some release work recently, and I have friendships with people I've had 30 years, 20 years. I've had a lot of long time friends. I know people all around the country, all around the world. And there are just a number of people that at any time, day or night, I can pick up the phone and call, and they'd be happy to hear from me, and I'd be thrilled to hear from them. But recently, I had some tension in one of those relationships. And so I started doing some forgiveness and release work. Well, what came up for me is that I really wanted to blame the tension on the other person. And I realized that the tension was coming because of my expectation of them to read my mind. Anybody ever done that? Yeah. Well, what I mean is my expectation was for them to know what I needed, in the relationship at this given time. And so when I finally got to the deeper forgiveness, I said, well, the truth is, it's myself I have to forgive, not them. I mean, I had forgiven them, but I realized I was the one that was not either protecting myself or asking for what I needed. And so that'll be the next step. I'm not quite there yet to do that in person, but what I know is that this is the process, right? This is the process. So the tension didn't mean they were bad or I was bad. The tension meant after 30 years, I mean, there may be something that needs to shift in the way I view this relationship. There might be something that needs to shift in the way I support myself around this relationship. It might be something that needs to shift around how I support this other person in the relationship. And until I figure that out, I'm not going to have a conversation until I'm crystal clear. So, friends, this is what I mean. You see how the higher spirituality is informing how I behave within this relationship. And it's just a friend, but it's somebody I care deeply about. And so I don't want to say or do something that is going to negatively impact this relationship that's meant so much to me over 30 years. So I've got to really give it some thought. I've got to really give it a little time and to know there's no rush. I mean, there's some divine working out between us. And I think something's happening energetically that I can't even name that he's probably already feeling. So you see what I mean, friends? So this is the deeper work. And I know we need to go ahead and take a break, but we'll be back right after these brief messages to talk more about spirituality and relationship. And welcome back. I'll tell you, friends, I don't usually talk about something in process, but because of what we're talking about today, I'm hoping it's helping. What my reflection in the break was that, and I always want to bring this up about our culture. We can just be so seduced into immediate reactions about everything. Everything now is rage against the machine. And half the time, we don't even know what we're raging against. It's just, let's get pissed, Right. So ultimately what I was saying about this really important relationship to me is that because it's somebody I've known so long and because it's somebody I care deeply about, I really want to honor what that connection is and has been, and also check with myself to say, am I holding on to something that is really wanting to shift and move in a way I wasn't aware of, And I think it's normal when we grow and change. Like you say, I mean, you're a different person than you were 10 years ago. I mean, try 30, it's just, you people change over time. But what I know is that, what I'm talking about with relationship, what I know is that when we are seeking to be in integrity with our spiritual walk, it really shows in how we maintain relationships over the years. Recently I had 5 people come to church. They came all the way from Orlando to Tampa. And it meant so much to me to see them. And it's not that we never had tension in our relationships before, but because we handled it in a spiritual way, each honoring the other, we're on the other side doing great. So, as friends, as colleagues, as, spiritual seekers on the journey, we're connected with this idea that, wow, God is everywhere, God is in me, and God must be in you, so let's work this out. It's so beautiful when you can have that. Now, having said that, there are times when the other people in the relationship just don't care to work that hard.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. There are times when people don't want to work it out. They don't know how. They don't have the skill. Maybe they're dealing with, some kind of personality disorder. You can work on it all day long till you're, that old phrase, till you're blue in the face,
right?
Which I'm not sure what that really means. But you could work on it. But if they're not willing, it's like dumping your energy down a black hole.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know. Sometimes I care more about people's journeys than they care for themselves. I finally said to a client a couple of years ago, I said, I'm really working hard to get you this appointment. And at this point, I'm working harder than you. So I have several times. These are when I'm available. If this matters to you, you will make this work. And if it doesn't, I am good. But, all these changes every other week, you're canceling. So if this isn't a fit, I want to have you find somebody, that's really going to help you. But this is not honoring your process. I'm fine. I don't mind changing appointments. I don't mind moving things around, but you are not showing up for yourself in this, right? So not everybody wants to. So that's been one of my biggest learnings. I mean, there are a couple issues in my family. Every time I see them, I go, okay, I forgot about this one. Just nobody cares about this dysfunction. So I'm just going to have to protect myself and do the best I can.
Yeah. And just release it because there's nothing you can do about it.
There's nothing I can do. I can love them, I can support them, and I can protect myself. And that's exactly what I have to do.
Yep.
But you see, that's different than making everybody wrong and telling them this and that and telling them off and say, I'm never coming back here, you freak, And there's, of course, a part of me that feels things like that. But remember what I said earlier? We're not responsible for what we think and feel, but what we do and say. Right. So if that's the feeling, well, then I go, oh, wow, I wonder where that's coming from. See, I'm investigating my own reaction so that I can show up in a way that is honoring, that is spiritual to myself. And I can show my son, look, these big reactions do not serve anyone. If this is not a fit for us, we leave. We go home. We go to another location. We do whatever we have to.
Yeah, I have a coworker who gets really emotionally invested into the students, as you should. And so when the students start doing things sideways, either they're not showing up or they just are chronically not turning in assignments or something like that, it really sticks on her and really affects her. And so we've had a lot of really long talks because she'll ask me, how are you able to kind of navigate this? And it doesn't completely drive you insane. I'm like, well, it does drive me crazy, because
right.
You see very talented students self-sabotaging and exactly
totally.
How to fix it, but they're 18, 19, 20 years old and they're going to do what 18, 19 and 20-year-olds do. And so I just have to release them, release the situation and just take it for what it is and then pick up the pieces on the other side if they come around. And so we've had a lot of conversations, because we're talking all types of relationships.
Yeah.
Because it really, really sticks on her and she just desperately wants, and she's also like a mom and everything. And so she sees like her own kids in the students. And so I think her mothering instinct kicks in a little bit.
Yes.
And it's very similar. I just have to release it and it's okay. Otherwise it's going to get on me and will start affecting me and my journey.
Right. And there's only so much you can do. But what we seek to do, of course, is, help one another, be of service. But when we are going from this spiritual standpoint, we will see that not all we're not meant to be in every relationship. Not every relationship is meant to last forever, which is also a very adult idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, not every relationship lasts forever. That's both romantic and friends. It's always hard for me if a relationship has a really big change of people I love. But you know what? It's part of my work to deal with that. It's not part of their work. They don't have to make me happy. I've got to work through it. But it has been freeing to know spiritually that sometimes your karma is just done. Like nobody has to be bad.
Nobody's wrong. It's just
nobody has to be wrong.
The chapter is closed.
Yeah. If where I'm going and where this friendship is are really two different things, or this romantic relationship, or I'm not feeling honored, and certainly if there's any abuse or something, then that's a no-go for me. I do not allow that in my life in any way. Right. And so you're daily making that decision of what you will allow in your life. What is the, spiritual reality you want to live in. Right. So all of our relationships and every choice we make around those relationships is what helps decide that. Even now, the person that cuts my hair, who I adore, is a financial supporter of the show and does her spiritual work. I love it. So that's important to me. I don't want to sit and get my hair cut and have to listen to what somebody did partying the night before. It's just not a vibe I want to be around. Yeah. One time this guy cut my hair. He was so stoned, he forgot I was growing my hair out. I said, well, that's the last appointment there.
Oh my God. And
yeah.
Okay.
He took off about a year of growth
on
my hair.
And it's hard to come back from that because you can't just pull it out.
Here was the thing. There was no apology. There was no awareness. He was talking a mile a minute. I said, well, this might be cocaine. This is a pretty serious situation. He died 6 months later from an overdose.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So if there's energy like that, I won't be around it.
No.
And, some of the family relationships, like I have a godson who I absolutely adore, but he has made so many bad choices in his life. I just cannot be in regular communication. I can support, I can pray, I can love. If he's in the hospital because of another accident related to drugs, I have gone, I have prayed with, I have supported, but I cannot have regular, it's complete madness. It is complete madness, but I love him. I want more than anything for him to come around, but you know what? I can't make him want it. He knows I'm here when he's ready.
Yeah.
Right. So you see, friends, as what I'm saying, it's like that there's a spiritual awareness, there's a spiritual nature, there is a spiritual work around these various relationships. I don't just say, oh, screw it, I'm out. And that's what the world says now. Well, somebody thinks different than me, unfriend, unlike, untalk to forever. I think there's a higher way. So, I mean, yes, if somebody, is hating on you, no, you don't be around that. But if somebody just has a different opinion, I don't know. That's I'm a little concerned about our world getting so polarized. I had this friend a few years ago who was we had some people doing work at the house for us, and she said, "Oh, that's a redneck," and that old redneck. I can't stand people like that. And I said, "Well, you know what? If your car breaks down on the side of the road, that's exactly who you want to pull over and help you is redneck. Because they're going to know how to change that tire, and they're going to call you ma'am, and they're going to make sure you're not left alone." So I know you think redneck means, gay hating and all that, but that's not my experience. You see what I mean? How if somebody does manual labor, suddenly they're not equal to me. You see what I'm saying? I guess it's why in my life I have a number of different kinds of friends. Friends with no education at all, and friends with two doctorates, 3 doctorates.
Well, it reminds me, and we've talked about this on the show before, but right after Pulse, you were invited to the governor's mansion. And, Rick Scott was the governor, and he's not necessarily friendly to many of the social and economic issues that I would say that we are. Certainly you are.
Yes.
But
yes.
You were invited to the governor's mansion for a dinner to kind of have a seat at the table. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you got some heat for that.
I did.
Can you talk a little bit, because that was about relationship and about maintaining spiritual perspective on a political relationship.
Yes. Well, he got a lot of flack too, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
I found out later. He did invite me to church. I wasn't ever able to schedule that because of my work. Yes. So the governor and I, when he was the governor, he's, in Washington now, but, when he was the governor and Pulse happened, when we first sat down, it was really interesting because there was also a representative there who I fell in love with and didn't know well. But I just fell in love with him, and he was, Democratic and happened to be gay himself. And so, but with Governor Scott, what was so important is that I could tell he felt sad. He felt guilt. He was ignorant of what to do next. And when I say ignorant, I don't mean he's dumb. I mean, he did not have the information. He did not know how to handle it. And honestly, to his credit, he asked. But at the beginning, I could feel there were a lot of defenses up, and I said, everybody was wearing like these FBI jackets and stuff. It was really intense.
Because it was right after everything happened.
Was right after. Yes. The day after, or 2 days after. Yeah. And, the first thing I said to him was, so I'm not here to make you wrong. Let me help. And he said, what do I do? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that never would have happened if you didn't accept the invite.
No.
If you went, nope, you're a Republican, you're anti-gay or whatever, just whatever. Wham, that never would have happened.
And most often, in my experience, people that appear and say anti-gay things, it's a complete lack of awareness. It usually doesn't mean they hate me. It means they don't understand, right? And so what we don't understand usually scares us. And fear is, anger is a great mask for fear. Mm-hmm. So once he knew I was a normal person who had a kid, he actually wrote Josh a letter. Yeah, I don't think I eever shared that. Handwritten note. Yeah. Handwritten note to my son. So, and what people said was that I was supporting Governor Scott, and he was going to use that as a photo op. And what I never responded to those kinds of things, because what I know is he was getting hell on his end, and some of his supporters that are more evangelical in their understanding of the Bible and spirituality were angry that, I was the one sitting literally at his right hand. That's the seat of honor. Everybody knew it. I was the only minister at the table. It was Governor Scott and me and all chiefs of law enforcement around the state. That was my table. There's one of them I still talk to from time to time. Mm-hmm. And the other Baptist minister was across the room. But now for the prayer, for the meal, we both prayed. Which I thought was hilarious.
You got to cover all your bases, of course.
Yeah. But I know today I could call, Senator Scott, and he would take my call. I know that. you know, like he was surprised I wasn't anti-gun. He was surprised I had grown up in Georgia in the South. You know, he was surprised that I wasn't hating on him. He was surprised that I wasn't defensive. You know, so it's like, well, this person meets none of the stereotypes. And by the way, she's a mom. So it's like, oh, well, what are you doing for lunch? I mean, it was just kind of like everything was totally disarmed.
Yeah.
And he did do what my recommendation was. Yeah, he did do what my recommendation was. Well, and it was David Richardson was the other representative that met with us. Yeah.
Well, you took it from just being an avatar to a human, a person.
Yes, exactly.
And and that can't happen if things, if you just keep everybody away. And I'm not great at this either. You know, I'm not great at that. I've totally unfriended people and everything because they just go off, especially around election time and all of that. And
oh yeah, it got really brutal around election time. And I understand that because some of the, I mean, it was like vile. This was not just angry. This was downright vile. Some of the things people were doing and saying, it's like, yeah, let's just take a break. Nothing wrong with blocking or unfriending for a time, you know, to protect yourself. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, I just want to give you your propers because, you know, this is you absolutely living through the things that you're saying. And I've seen it in I've seen it in other aspects, you know, I've seen it in forgiveness in with me, you know? And so, for you listeners, she's the real deal.
I swear I'm not just talking about it. Right?
She doesn't just talk about it, man. She is you absolutely live the things that you're, you know, speaking into a microphone or saying from a pulpit, 100%. I can confirm.
Well, the other funny thing I'll just end about Rick Scott is that, this is like, I don't know, nearly a year later, he happened to be in Orlando and I was up eating at Fresh Kitchen, which is a really good, like gluten-free place. And he walked in and he goes, "Oh, hi, Cynthia." He was like, "Oh, hi, Reverend Cynthia. Reverend Anderson is what he said. Oh, hello, Reverend Anderson." I said, "Hey, I sent you a text a while back and I didn't hear back." And he goes, "Yeah, it's public record. I can't do that." I said, "Oh my gosh, you're right. I'll call you later." So, I mean, it was like no time had passed. So, you know, it's amazing when you give people a little room to kind of come forward. Some will, some won't, right? But I'd rather give people a chance.
Yeah.
That's just the way. I just rather give people a chance. And what I know now is that he might vote a little differently or he might say things a little bit differently because of knowing me. So that's why I was willing to take the heat, and he was willing because he saw there was some things he could learn and grow on as well. Yeah. And friends, I realized we didn't really get much to the romantic relationships, but we're going to get to that in our Creating Healthy Relationships series. So you're going to have to just stay tuned in and listen to Unity North Tampa for more of that. But we go with the energy, and we thank you for your support in that. And as always, I love hearing from you. If there's ideas, if there's feedback, you know, we want to hear from you. And I thank you for your support. We just had another donation come in, and you know, those who just support every single month, it means a lot because we can plan on a certain amount, but then when we get those larger donations, it really helps support me getting the message out other places, because then we can buy advertising and different things like that. So thank you for help spreading the word, and we bless you on your journey, dear friend.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2022, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The SoulWorks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. SoulWorks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the SoulWorks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.